Today I would like to show you a short comparison test that I've been planning for a while, but somehow never really found the time to realize. I want to show you how the excellent hyper-smooth stabilization of the GoPro Hero 9, which is a pure electronic stabilization, compares to the stabilization of our smartphone gimbal. I'm using DJI's Osmo Mobile 3 as the smartphone gimbal, together with an iPhone 12, and I'll be using the GoPro on a simple hand grip. It's clear that these are two completely different setups. Still, it will be interesting to see if the GoPro can keep up with or even beat the stabilization of a smartphone gimbal. By the way, you can find links to all the gear I use in this video in the video description. Before we take a look at the comparison shots though, I think I need to clarify a few things. The quality of the stabilization also depends on the settings. There are 3 different levels of stabilization on the GoPro: on, high and boost. High and boost obviously lead to a better stabilization, but high cannot be combined with different settings. It is not available in the highest resolution 5K, nor in 4K 60. Boost, the most powerful type of stabilization on the other hand, is actually always available, but it leads to a relatively strong crop, which is also not always optimal. In addition, the Hero 9 delivers an excellent stabilization, especially in the setting linear with horizon leveling. I will therefore try out different settings on the GoPro. The quality of the iPhone stabilization also partly depends on the settings. For example, only the main lens has optical stabilization. Nevertheless, the shots taken with the ultra-wide lens generally look more stable. This is simply because a shot taken with a wide-angle lens will generally always look more stable. So I will write the respective settings below the footage. To start, I'll show you a few comparison shots while walking. This is certainly a common use for the smartphone gimbal. This GoPro shot, as you can see, was taken with linear with horizon leveling. This first iPhone shot with the ultra-wide lens. Both cameras have a very similar field of view at these settings. And not only that, as you can see in the direct comparison, the shots also have a comparably good stabilization. Here you can see a magnification of 200%. You can notice the up and down movements a bit more in the GoPro shot. This shot of the iPhone was taken with the main lens. Despite the higher focal length, this shot also looks very well stabilized. Again, there is hardly any difference to the GoPro shot. This GoPro shot was taken with the field of view wide. As before, the stabilization is set to high. Here too, the result is the same as before. Only very slight differences can be seen compared to the gimbal shot. The shot with the gimbal may look a bit softer. However, this can only be noticed in a direct comparison. By the way, I did not take static shots, since they are no problem for either device. In contrast to the last shots, I now try to take a cinematic dolly forward, thus avoiding strong walking movements. And in my opinion, this succeeds a bit better with the gimbal. The slight up and down movements, which also occur when walking carefully, are compensated a little better and the shot looks smoother overall. For this purpose, the gimbal is a bit better suited. As you may have noticed before, these movements are also very difficult to remove in post. Since the GoPro and of course a smartphone gimbal are excellent for travel videos, I captured short, let's call it sightseeing walks, and then compared them. In contrast to before, turns and stairs are included here. Here you also notice that the iPhone usually prefers a slightly warmer white balance. By the way, on my channel you can find a detailed comparison between the camera of the iPhone 12 and the GoPro Hero 9. Similar to before, the gimbal compensates the walking movements a bit better. However, the difference turns out to be rather small. Now I did a running test to push the gimbal and the GoPro a bit harder to the limit. I set the GoPro to boost for this. Both devices have no major problems with my running style and can compensate the strong movements very well. The result of the GoPro looks maybe a bit shakier and the gimbal leads to softer results. This shot was taken with the iPhone's main lens. As you can see, the longer focal length leads to slightly bumpier results than the ultra-wide lens. The result looks very similar to the GoPro shot. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Werner and I do GoPro, iPhone and filmmaking tutorials on this channel. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're interested in these topics. With both cameras, you can also get very good shots where the camera follows the subject. Of course, since the subject is the center of attention here, there is very little noticeable difference in such a shot, at least as far as stabilization is concerned. What I also always like to do, and for which a gimbal is well suited for example, are such lateral pans. The elements in the foreground add even more depth to the shot. Since this is a very steady and slow shot, you can hardly notice any differences. Perhaps the GoPro's shot even looks a bit smoother. Here I did the pan with the main lens, and here you can see well that the higher focal length is a bit better suited for such shots. There is more separation between the foreground and the background, and the shot looks more cinematic overall. To summarize very briefly, we can say that the GoPro stabilization compares relatively well to that of a smartphone gimbal. There are only minor differences. The smartphone gimbal produces slightly smoother movements overall, which is especially advantageous for cinematic shots. And that's it for today. Give me a like as feedback if the video was interesting for you. There will be more GoPro and iPhone tests and tutorials to come. So stay tuned and see you next time.